at one of the colleges as well. So this month, and actually last month, I've been talking about all we really need to do is live the golden rule. And if we look at all the teachings from the Buddha, from every religion that's been created, and remember now, religions have been created by humans, okay? That they created religions around what they thought this particular person was teaching, but of course doctrine and dogma always get in the way, and your own personal point of view and your own personal agenda. And so therefore we have thousands and thousands and thousands of religions. Are any of them wrong? No. If at the heart of it you do as Jesus said, and that is, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. It's pretty simple, isn't it? And he actually said, I've come to give you a new teaching. And it's quite simple. Do unto others. And isn't it amazing how all the interpretations over the years of what he said have changed? And you'll even find those that studied with Augustine that even had their military regalia on, as they're saying that they're speaking for the peaceful one, the one who came to teach peace and nothing else. He came to teach peace, and to me, that's a true tragedy and a sacrilege. And if there's a pain to be felt this morning, it is in the different ways that what the peaceful one said. And that's been translated into warring words. And but anyway, we won't get into that this morning. I'd be here all day. I told the story last week that had Beth said I had her crying 3 times. I had 3 really sweet stories. They were just so sweet that one is a friend of mine on Facebook, and she had a photo of her little boy, and he's just adorable. And he said, and he has a baby brother that's just a few months old now, and he said, can I hold him or can I snuggle with him while you sing to us? I thought, now there's a babe in a manger, isn't it? That's a babe in a manger, and if you can love that story, you can believe in the one love. So and I told the story of the little disabled boy that was able to play softball with a couple of teams that sort of rolled their eyes at first, but they allowed him to play, and they allowed him to win. And these are the things that touch the heart. And when you see warring words out there, don't pay attention to it. Don't give it any energy. As Dan's friends, Dan has a friend named John, and he says there's certain people coming down the street, don't even make eye contact. So that's what I'm saying to you about all the warring stories out there in the news and this political thing and that. Don't give it any energy. Don't let it grow. Allow the peace to grow within you. So there was a lady named Irene Moskovitz. And the story is told by her granddaughter. Her granddaughter went to talk with her. Her granddaughter's name is, poor Andrea trying to get the slides and they're not going. We're just having all sorts of technical difficulties this morning as we've, but look at all these people that have shown up. with all these difficulties we had, Janet's sick, still sick. She's been sick since she went on her cruise, and we need to pray for her. And we pulled it all together, didn't we, Shelby, in the slides and the bulletins? And Tammy, thank you for stepping up when the person that was going to do the podium was unavailable, the platform. It's finally out of juice, Marcus, so just go ahead and flip the slide for us. He's got that magic touch up there. He can go to the next slide, and if not, it doesn't matter. The story I'm going to tell you, you're just going to be excited with it anyway. So Irene's granddaughter comes to visit with her. She's visiting her grandmother, Irene. Irene says, I ever said for you the story about the Feigenbaums and the air conditioner? So her granddaughter says, my grandmother looks far backward in time to when she was a young woman. Her eyes sharpen, and for a moment I can see how she was then, busy, purposeful, and full of life. Well, she says, leaning forward, we were living in Brooklyn, and it was a hot summer, terrible hot summer that summer. We weren't rich, not at all, but your Zadie, he worked hard. We had an air conditioner, one big air conditioner. And in the evenings, we'd sit around it with the boys to cool off. Those days, there was no central air, you know. Anyway, we had one, but the Feigenbaums, they didn't. They didn't have nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. They had 8 kids crammed in like sardines in that little apartment. And poor Mrs. Feigenbaum, she always looks so nervous. I don't know from what. But anyway, that summer was the worst. So hot, all of them together in that little hot house. And their baby, he cried all night, every night he cried, screaming his little head off from the heat. And it hurt me so to hear it. Sometimes I cried along with him, the poor little thing. So one night, I couldn't take it no more. And I said to your Zadie, Willie, wake up right now. Well, he jumped up fast into bed. What happened, he said. We should buy the Feigenbaums an air conditioner. What? An air conditioner, so they wouldn't be so hot. Then I said it softly. Please, Willie, would you do it for me? Well, you know, he was such a mensch, your Zadie. And always he had a soft heart for the children and for me. So he worked hard? No, he worked harder. He told me he'd work harder that week and he'd work more hours, and by the end of the week he'd have the money for the air conditioner. Wasn't he a good man, your Zadie? So finally, on Friday before Shabbos, he come home, your Zadie, and he gives me the money, but it's Friday before Shabbos. There's nothing I can do. I have to wait till Sunday and the store's open. When Sunday came, I went with Zadie to old Mr. Katzenstein's store on 14th Avenue there in Brooklyn to buy for the Feigenbaums an air conditioner. Now, you know Mr. Katzenstein, he knew your Zadie good from back home, so he make for him a good deal. Let me tell you, by the time we come home, it was already late, and I should put the boys to bed, so the air conditioner, it had to wait in the box on the floor. Next morning, after the boys go to school, I shoved the air conditioner box to the door and down the steps to the outside. I know, it's hard to imagine. I'm so tiny now, but back then I was at least 5 feet tall, maybe 5'1", and I had strong legs, strong arms. I was a strong woman. I could do a lot. So what I do, I took a deep breath. I pushed the box over next door to the house where the Feigenbaums lived. Then slowly, I pushed that Farstentine box up the stairs, 1 step, 2. Gott in Himmel, it was heavy. I thought for sure I should have a heart attack. And it was hot. Did I say to you it was hot that day? You should know it was 18 steps up to the 2nd floor. And I was a small woman. Even if I was strong, that's a long way to push an air conditioner. Up 18 steps. Halfway up, well, maybe the 10th step or maybe 11th, all of a sudden I realize what I'm going to do when she opens the door. What am I going to say for her? I bought for you an air conditioner? Can't be. She'll be ashamed, for sure. And it's my fault. Oi, dumb cough. I don't know what I should do, but I said to myself, Irene, just go up those stairs, and when she opens the door, you'll think of something you always do. You're quite inventive, it turns out. So slowly, schwitzing and schlepping, I get up the stairs. So much pushing I did. I should think I should have another baby with all that pushing. I get to the top, and I lean on the box a little to catch my breath, then I knock on the door hard. Mrs. Feigenbaum calls out, "Who is it?" "It's me, Irene Moskovitz." A minute she opens the door. "Oh, hello, Miss Moskovitz," she says, and she looks at me, and then she looks at the box. I say, "Hello, and congratulations." I smiled at her real big. I said, "I brought you the air conditioner that you won." She said, "I won an air conditioner?" "Why, yes, the air conditioner that you won." She says, "From whom?" I said, "Well, from the ladies' auxiliary, of course." From the ladies' auxiliary. And the granddaughter is still sitting with her grandmother. The grandmother says, "Mamala, do you know who was the ladies' auxiliary?" I was the ladies' auxiliary. I love that story because I feel like I've been the ladies' auxiliary so many times in my life, and I've done it because it gave me great joy, and it still does. And there's nothing quite so joyful as a gift that's unexpected and not asked for. What a sweet thing to do. And what did I say about the teachings of the one that came to teach us peace? He said, "Do unto others as you would have others do unto you." And so Miss Irene did exactly that. She did exactly what we teach here at Unity, that there's a power, and we believe in that power. And we don't believe that that power resides with one particular religion or ethnicity or one place that's holy. We believe that every place is holy. And just like her, she didn't care. She just wanted that baby and those 8 children to be comfortable. And that's generosity, that comes from the heart, and that's what Christmas is, I want to be the ladies' auxiliary. I want to be always the ladies' auxiliary, and we don't have to deliver gifts of air conditioners to 2nd-story apartments to be that. We can do it much easier than that, you know. There's a story that comes to us from a woman who many years ago worked as a volunteer at a hospital. She got to know a little girl named Liz who was suffering from a rare and a serious disease. Her only chance of recovery appeared to be a blood transfusion from her 5-year-old brother, who had miraculously survived the same disease and had developed the antibodies needed to combat the disease. The doctor explained the situation to the parents, and the parents explained it to the little boy. And then they asked the little boy if he would be willing to give his blood to his sister. And he thought for a moment, hesitated only a moment, taking a deep breath. He said, "Yes, I'll do it if it will save her." Now, this is a 5-year-old little boy. When the time came and as the transfusion progressed, the little boy lay in bed next to his sister and smiled as everyone did, seeing the color returning to her cheeks. And then his face grew pale and his smile faded. He looked up at the doctor and asked in a trembling voice, "Will I start to die right away?" You see, being young, the little boy had misunderstood. He thought that he was going to be giving to his sister all of his blood in order to save her. What we're talking about here is love, plain and simple, short and sweet. We're talking about love. He was willing to give his little life if it would save his little sister. And that's what love is. Sometimes we've gotten so confused with all the traditions, and if we only knew. You know, when the Pilgrims came, and they were the first ones that came, the Europeans that came, it was against the law to celebrate Christmas. Did you know that? How silly we are sometimes to think that the Christ child lives in a manger somewhere in Bethlehem. And you go there, and they might hem and haw and say, "Well, I'm not sure. It may be over there, or it may be over there, or it may be in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. We don't know." It's just like if you're looking for the Christ in places like Rome, and you know me, I love to travel, and it's what I've done with a lot of my retirement years, besides being a full-time minister here, which I enjoy, by the way, and I love. I love to travel. But of all the sacred places that I go to, those that we consider sacred, you know what? I'm not going to find the holy there. I'm going to find what's holy right here in my heart. As Jesus also instructed, go within to your closet to pray. So don't go looking over to Rome for something holy. It can be a holy experience, I guarantee you, but only if you found the Christ, the light, the love that comes down at Christmas within your own heart. What you're likely to find at all of these places, these holy spots, are a lot of tourist attractions, aren't you? A lot of people selling trinkets and other things. And we've been to these places, my children and I, and we've enjoyed every moment of it. And I call my grandchildren my children too. They know they are. They're my children of the heart, aren't you, Andrew, Andy, Shelby? And what we do as a family when we go on these places, we just enjoy every moment of it because we know that what we're actually doing is taking love with us and we're making memories. And that's what every holiday ought to be. Instead of just spending a lot of money on something that somebody's going to put aside or maybe even re-gift, and that's okay too. But the true meaning of Christmas is what so many have tried to tell us over the years, and that is love and kindness and treating your fellow neighbor as yourself. And only then will you have found the true meaning of Christmas. I shared with Joan a little story that I'd read recently, actually a book, about a young man who had lost his job. And he had a terrible neighbor. And it just so turned out that the day he lost his job, his partner moved out and told him he didn't ever want to see him again, and he didn't even understand why. So on the worst day of his life, his neighbor, who was bigoted, by the way, and criticized his way of life and called his house a fruit basket. He said, "Oh, you're going to have a fruit basket turnover over there, huh?" You know, on the worst day of his life. And then days go by and he still doesn't have a job, doesn't have a roommate, and every possible roommate that comes, this horrible neighbor scares them off and says something ugly. So the old man's daughter, who has gotten stuck with her father because nobody else will stay with him, he's so mean, comes over and begs him. She says, "You need a job. Would you please stay with him?" He says, "Are you kidding? He hates me." And so in the middle of the night, he answers the phone, and the old man has gotten his telephone number, and he says, "Don't you dare take that job. I don't want you in my house." And so the story goes, it's kind of sweet, actually, that he finally does take the job because the woman is desperate. Her daughter is having a baby, and she has to leave town, and so to help her out, he agrees. But he says, "I'll only do it for 2 weeks. Now you got to come back." But you know that the more he stayed with the man, and the more he spoke back to him and let him know how unacceptable what he said truly was. But he learned a huge lesson in it. And the lesson he learned was that this man had never felt love. He had never felt love in his heart. He felt like he'd been treated unfairly, and so he held a grudge against everybody in the world. But they finally came around to terms where the old man actually cared for him before he died, and he asked him to take him across the country so he could apologize to his ex-wife, and he did. So it led the young man to go to become a caregiver and then to go on and become a nurse, because what he found out about himself, and that was that he had the capacity to look beyond what someone else said. He didn't make assumptions, and he loved them instead. And that's actually the true message of Christmas. I don't care how much tinsel we put on the tree. It's beautiful, and I don't discourage anyone from doing that. I put Christmas lights up too. But I would just encourage you to remember what's holy and what's not. You may find something holy in Rome, Georgia, just as holy as you might find in Rome, Italy, or in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. You might find the Christ child. And where you're going to find it is right within your own heart. And we believe right here at Unity of Gulfport, not only those things we talk about, God is, I am, I think it, I pray it, I live it. And if we're not living the truths that we know, if we go out into the world and someone can't identify us as a person that lives those truths, then maybe we would need to rethink who we are and what we believe in, what we truly believe. But I just pray for everyone here that you have a wonderful Christmas. If you're in town and you're able, join us next week for some beautiful music. I promise it'll be just as beautiful as this morning. I just pray that you'll find the holy everywhere you go. And you don't even have to push an air conditioner up 2 flights of stairs to do it. You might just give someone a smile. Or if they've said something that offends you, you might just want to ignore it and let it go. So I wish you a Merry Christmas and hope that I'll see you soon.